Welcome back to Way of the Wrench, and on today's very special episode, I'm going to be showing you how to get everything set up for Direct Output Framework, or DOF. And what that means is by the end of this video, you are going to be able to take your LED strips and have them twinkle like this and have them actually interact with the game that you're playing. How cool is that? Let's get going. All right, so first off, what the heck is Direct Output Framework? Well, and for the rest of this video, we're going to call this DOF. So what is DOF? DOF is simply a program that allows the video game to communicate what is going on to something externally and have it power up at the same exact time. So for example, if I press a flipper button, the game knows I'm hitting a flipper button, and it can communicate externally to a controller board to power up something like a real flipper relay or a contactor or a solenoid, and it's making that sound at the same exact time it would be in the game. Now, for this video's sake, and what we're getting set up for DOF-wise is the LED strip lighting. So whenever we have a pop bumper or something going off on the screen, DOF is going to communicate to our LED strips and our Teensy controller and have them simulate strobes and flashers and beacons and things like that at the right time that the game is actually having that happen. Pretty cool. Now, installing DOF seems a bit daunting, especially for people that are not into computers and programming and coding. However, you do not have to have skills in that stuff. You just have to follow along and go through kind of a set of commands and things that we have to do to get set up here. And if you do it properly, you will have this happen. And if you don't, it'll probably just look like this. So take some deep breaths, follow along, and I'll try to get you through this as smoothly as possible. All right, so the very first thing we need to do is download DOF. Now, I highly recommend you get DOF from MJRNet, and we're going to be looking for the newest version here. So the newest version is version 3++, and here's our downloads. And what you're going to want to do is do this Windows Setup MSI. So we're going to download that. Once that's downloaded, you're going to right-click and copy on this, and then just put it on your desktop. And before you open it up, what I would do is right-click on it, go to Properties, and right down here where there's a little check mark where we can unblock it, we don't want anything not getting set up properly from this program, so we're going to click that, press Apply, press OK. Okay, and then you're going to double left click on this to start the installer. So it's pretty easy, just follow the instructions. So we're going to hit Next. I would suggest you leave it as it is, so it's going to make it on the C drive, and it's going to do it syntax error-free, exactly how it's supposed to be, and make a folder called Direct Output. So click Next, and then Install. And when it's done, click Finish. Okay, now we're going to check the folder and see that it came in okay. So we're going to go to C drive, this PC, C drive, and there it is. There's our folder, Direct Output. So we're going to open that up. And then there's a bunch of stuff in here. So one of the first things I kind of highly recommend you do is we kind of make sure that there's no security things where things are going to get blocked and not run properly. So anything that says .dll, you're going to right click, go to Properties, and make sure it does not say unblock. If it does, you're going to click it, click Apply, click OK. But in this case, this one is OK. And you're going to go through every single one, make sure that we're not going to have one of these crucial programs not run. And so far it looks like they're all okay. And that's all the DLLs. Now I would do the same exact thing with any of these things that have a .exe. So right click, Properties, make sure it doesn't have an unblock. And these seem to be okay as well. Okay. Okay, in any of these programs that have .exe, I would also do another thing. You're going to go right click, go down to Properties, go up to Compatibility, and go down here and check this box off that says Run this program as an administrator. Make sure you click Apply, click OK. So in this case, this one's already done. And we're going to do this one as well, Global Config Editor. That one's good as well. We don't really need to do that one right now. That one's just for testing. but for running we need this one as well. All right, so they're all checked off already. Perfect. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our C drive, and we're going to go to vPinball, and Visual Pinball, and we're going to open up our tables folder. And in here should be a folder called plugins. Now it should automatically make it for you with the MSI installer, but if it doesn't, you're going to have to right click, make a new folder, and call that plugins exactly how it is here with no space and no capital letters. Now once you got that folder, you can double click in here, and what we're looking for right now is that there is a shortcut to the actual direct output folder. So you can see that the MSI installer has already done that, but if you haven't, you can right click on the direct output folder and put make a shortcut. It'll save it to your desktop and then take it from your desktop and put it in this folder. But like I said, it's already in here, so that's good. So the next thing we have to do is we're going to go back to our tables, and we need to get a table ready to play that has a direct B2S backlash in the game. So it doesn't really matter which one, just make sure you have one that works properly. So we're going to go with Cactus Canyon here, and you're going to open it up and start the game. Okay, now I'm going to take my mouse and I'm going to go all the way to the right so that I can see my mouse on my backlash screen here, and I'm going to right click on it, and it's going to bring up this menu. And what we're doing here is checking to make sure that other things have been activated here properly. So what we're looking for right now is that this plugin settings button is not grayed out, so it should be clickable, which is great. And then we also want to see that it says activate plugins has been checked off. And if this is checked where it says error message without backlash, get rid of that. Okay, so that's proper. And now what we can do is we actually click on this, and if this is working properly, in the listings here, these are all the different B2S server plugins that are working. You can see that we've got direct output and it says that it's active. So DOF is working with this. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to close this. Now, if you had to click one of these or one of these off, you're going to have to save these settings. So you're going to press Save Setting, and it's going to tell you that you need to restart for it to happen, but that's fine. And then you can close that. And then you got to get your mouse back to the left on top of your playfield, left click on the playfield, and then you can press Q on your keyboard twice to kick out of your game. Okay, I'm just going to close this table out. Now, the very next thing is we need to go back to the C drive, go to our direct output, and go to our config file. Now, there's examples in here that if you don't have a cabinet file, you could use these. However, we're going to make our own, so we're going to just kick back out. And in the config file folder, we're going to put our cabinet.xml file that we made from the previous video for this. So I made a copy of mine before I nuked my installation here. So this is my cabinet file. So I'm going to right click, copy it, and I'm going to throw it into this folder here. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our direct output folder. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go down to register direct output com object and double left click on this and click yes. And it will tell you whether it's successful or not. So there it is, successfully registered it. Press OK. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the config folder and we're going to go to the examples, and we're going to take this global config underscore B2S server.xml. We're going to copy this and we're going to put it right here. Okay, then go back to your direct output. Okay, and then we're going to open up our global config editor.exe. Double left click, click yes, and then you're going to get this pop up. Okay, and then you're going to go to File, Load, and you're going to click on the config, and you're going to click on global config underscore B2S server. Then you're going to go to the cabinet config, then go select file, and you're going to select your cabinet.xml. Okay, and then we're going to save this. Now when we save it, we're going to go save as, and in our config folder, we are going to name this a couple things here. So the first one is going to be global config, no space, capital letters on the first letter of each one. Okay, and make sure you spelt it right, no extra spacing. Save that. Okay, then you're going to go back up and you're going to go save as again. And then you're going to type it global config underscore B2S server. Okay, make sure it's spelled exactly right. And I didn't spell it right, so good thing I checked. So B2S server, no spaces, press save. There's already one there, that's the one that I kind of exampled over, but we can overwrite that, so we'll say yes. Okay, and then we can close this out. Okay, now the very next thing you need to do is you need to make an account at config.vpuniverse.com. Okay, this is the site you're wanting to get to. So when you get here, if you don't have an account, you just click Create Account, and then you're going to make yourself a username, put your name in there, email and password, and create your account. Now, once you have that all set up, go back to the home and sign in with your username and password. All right, so once you log in, this is what you're going to need to do. You're going to have to go to My Account first. And you're going to go down here and see where it says number of WS2811 devices. We've got one. That's our Teensy Octo board. So we're going to put 1. And for now, that's all we got. So we're going to put Save Settings. Okay, and then when we go to port assignments, it's going to automatically pop up with this as your device because it's the only one there. If there was other devices, or if it didn't pop up like this, you just have to click here and then click your WS2811. Okay, and if you'll notice, these are our ports that we were talking about before when we were doing our cabinet file video. So ports 1, 2, 3 is going to be for my left playfield. Port 4, 5, 6 is going to be for my right, and so on. Now, to put in what you want in here, you can go over to the side and use a pull-down menu, and you can actually select what you're asking port 1 to be. And so for us, if I want that to be my side playfield for the left, I could scroll down here, and I could go playfield left and click one of these, playfield left flasher or left effects. However, I'm going to generally want more than one of these effects per port. So before I put anything in here, we're going to talk about combos. So we're going to go over to Combine Toys. Now here, we can actually put in multiple effects, maximum of 4 per port. And then from that previous port assignments, instead of just selecting one, you can actually just go and select a combo, which is what we're going to make now, and then you can have up to 4 effects on one port. So to do that, you go over here, change mono to RGB addressable. And then for combo 1, I'm going to make this my left playfield side strip. So we go down and we're looking for PF, playfield left. So this is the first one. We're going to pick this one, so flashers. Go back, scroll down to where we were so that we just put that one in. We could also have left effects. So we're going to click that one as well. And then I think that's all I'm going to put in there. That's specifically for playfield left. Yeah. Okay, so that's going to be our combo 1. So now what we're going to do is add this. And it's going to say, are you sure? Say OK, and you're going to notice that we have a combo 1. So we can now select from our port assignments combo 1 for a port. Now I want to make another combo for my right side. So RGB addressable. This time we're going to boot playfield right flashers and playfield effects. Okay, so the flashers are going to be things that kind of like pop bumpers and things that happen on the sides of the playfield. And then the effects is kind of all the twinkly stuff that goes up and down when you launch a ball or when you're picking games in the front end, etc. Okay, that's good. So we're going to add this one. Now let's make another one, and this one's going to be for our matrix. So RGB addressable. Now we're going to go down to find pf back. So we're going to have flashers. And then there should be a playfield back strobe. So that's simulating strobe lights. Flasher strobe, so we need effects. Playfield back effects. And then that's probably good. We can see if there's something else we want to add here. So we got flashers, effects, strobe, oh, beacon. So we could have a beacon in here as well, so we'll add that. And then we're maxed out. Okay, so we're going to add that. Click OK. So that's our matrix. And then combo 4 is going to be our speakers. So RGB addressable. Now, depending on what you want from your speakers, you could have them pretty quiet and not flashing you in the face all the time, or you could have them kind of going pretty crazy. You could have them match the same color that's on your undercab. So for me, I don't want them lit up too much, but I do kind of like when some of the effects from the intro to a game or the effects that are happening on the matrix, if they're happening on the speakers as well. So I'm going to put playfield back flashes, so if there's effects going off on the matrix, it's also flashing from the speakers. Definitely back effects. And you can, like I said, put as little or as much as possible, whatever you want. So honestly, I'm probably just going to copy what my back matrix is, and we'll see how that looks. So we've got flashers, back effects. Let's put back beacon. And what do we need? Strobe. Playfield back strobe. Okay, and we can always turn that down or take some of these off if I don't like it when I see it. Okay, so add, click OK. Okay, now we could make another combo for the undercab. However, I'm going to show you another issue here. So if I change this to RGB, and then I go down and find the undercab, RGB undercab complex. Keep in mind, some of these are grayed out and you can't select them. So if you're wondering why you can't select some, they're not letting you pick everything. So RGB undercab. And then there really isn't anything else. I found that through some testing, if I put something like one of these flashers or strobe effects, what actually happens is it saves a somewhat random section of your LED strips under your cab, and it doesn't light them, and it now uses that strobe or effect or whatever for that. So I just really want the undercab complex. So because it's only one thing and there's nothing else I want to add, it doesn't even let me add it because it is only one thing. So I'm just going to not put that in, leave that, and then when we put it in our port assignments, instead of picking combo 5, I'm just going to pick that one thing. So let's go to our port assignments now. Okay, select your board if you haven't already, and then we just have to plug this all in. So port 1 from our little cheat sheet is combo 1 for our left playfield. You can see that it fills in the red, green, and blue, so you need 3 channels or 3 ports to take up for the RGB lighting. So that's that, and then we'll go over here and we'll put in the right. So I'll scroll down to the bottom. That right playfield is combo 2. And then port 7 is our matrix, which is combo 3. And then this is our speakers, which we decided was combo 4. For port 13, we're going to find that undercab complex, MX for the effects. And then port 16 is for the back box, and I want the same thing. RGB undercab complex MX. All right, now this is all set up to go. We could talk a little bit about the stuff over here. Basically, this is starting to get into other kind of stuff if we want to do any kind of pulse width modulation for other boards, for our fans and our shaker motors and things like that. So we're not going to get into that yet, for this video anyway. Down here, you have the option to go through, and for all the flashers and the strobes and effects and text and stuff, you can actually go in here and you can change stuff. You could change the strobe effects. Instead of being circles, they could be squares or diamonds or all kinds of stuff. It just depends on what you are wanting it to look like. So this is almost a whole video on its own. I think Terry Red's got a really good one on here where you can go in and adjust stuff. So you can play with this if you want, just to change what the effects look like. One thing I wouldn't mind looking into later is actually getting into custom effects. So instead of just having a circle or a diamond, having something look like a genie lamp for Tales of the Arabian Nights, things like that. But that'll be for another video. So now that we are all done, we're going to save this. So that way when we log into this config tool again later, all of these will be saved for us. So click Save. That way if you need to make a quick change, you can just go ahead and do that. Okay, that's saved. And then the last thing you need to do is click Generate Config, and it's going to make up a zip file that we are going to put into our DOF folder. Okay, then you're going to go to where that folder is, where you just downloaded this, and you're going to right-click, copy that. And now we need to go back to our direct output folder. Okay, open up your direct output folder, and you can right-click and paste it right here. And then you're going to extract it here. So I use 7-zip, extract it here. And it's going to say there's a bunch of files here. Are you sure you want to replace them? You can say yes, and you can say yes to all actually, so it'll just do it. Okay, now before you start your pinball cabinet, if you want to have your front end doing all the twinkly stuff too, we need to change something. So you're going to go to where your pinup is, and you're going to open up your pinup popper config. And then from here, you're going to go to popper setup, and then you're going to go to global config, and you're going to go over to script. Now, a couple things that I will talk about since I've already done it for you guys, so to help save some time. If you're noticing that your patterns are kind of freezing and not kind of returning, or when you kick out of a game, they stick for a bit and then they finally get reset about 10 seconds later when the random front end stuff happens, you can add this line right here. So delay return equals 2000. Just type that in here. And what this does is it gives the slower programs like DOF in the background some time, this is in milliseconds, to be able to kind of shut off before popper returns back to the front end. So you can add that. Okay, and then to get DOF to work with the front end so that you can have the fancy lighting for random game selection, you're going to go up here to Modify Script System Options. Click on that. And then you're going to find this where it says Use DOF equals, and in yours it'll say false. And if you read to the instructions to the side here, if you put true, then that'll turn on DOF output with popper. If it's false, it'll be disabled. So on yours, it's going to say false. So just highlight the word false and type in TRUE, make sure it's all lowercase and you're not introducing any spaces or anything else, no periods. And then when you're done, you're going to go up to here, File, Save. Close this down, close these up, and then you can open it up and see how this works. Now when this starts up, there's this instant feeling of, oh my God, I didn't do it right because it didn't work, which it might not, but don't give up quite yet. So as soon as you hit a flipper button, that's when it's going to start. However, there's also about a 10-11 second delay from what I can tell on the front end. So you give it that 10 seconds, and then when you hit, you should have some magic happening. And there we go. There we go. We've got some cool patterns going on, and it's just random at this point when you are in the front end. However, when you get into a different table, you will have different effects going on for that specific table. So let's open up Leprechaun King and see how it looks. And don't be alarmed, it does go off while it's loading. If anybody knows how to actually get that to pop up and show some effects or keep doing some effects until the initial, that would be great, let me know. But as far as I know, it goes blank like this while you're loading. And then it should load into the table-specific kind of LED pattern. There we go. Leprechaun King's got a nice, very kind of shiny rainbow effect. You can see my back matrix effect is also on my speakers because I chose that for the speakers as well. And you can't see it in this shot, but there is going to be under cab glow and under the back box as well. But for Leprechaun King, doesn't look like there is any. Very cool. Okay, and then if we start the game, you'll see all the effects. Now I've turned all the music off just so I don't have to deal with any YouTube copyright strikes. But you can see the lights flashing here. That's kind of telling you the ball is ready to go. And now, whenever you hit anything in the game, you're going to have some effects go off depending on what you hit and depending how it's been coded for your game. So this one here, once you fill up the rainbow, you get a nice kind of glow to it. Look at that. Beautiful. And there's our text. And up at the top, there'll be some pop bumpers going. Lots of visual wow factor going on now. Very cool. All right, well, let's talk about those poor unfortunate souls that can't get it to this point and nothing is working. Let's talk about some troubleshooting. All right, so for you poor unfortunate souls that did everything I did in the video and yet it didn't work, I feel you. Don't think that I did this the first time with you guys and it worked perfectly for me the first time too. When I did it, it did nothing and it gave me very little to go off, but I went through back everything and figured out what I did wrong. So for me, one of my errors was that my COM, I actually didn't change that in the Tiny Tools. It was still COM1. So I figured out eventually that it was supposed to be COM3 and boom, it worked. And then another thing that I had happen was my matrix, I forgot to do the alternate up and down, right to left. And so it was mixing up every other column of LEDs. And so my text was there, but kind of garbled up. And so as soon as I saw the lights, and then I could help figure that out, that was a quick fix. Now, there's a lot of other things that could happen, so let's kind of run through some possible troubleshooting for you guys so that you can get you guys going as well. So right off the bat, if you don't have any lights at all and you were like me and kind of thought, hey, that'd be kind of cool to be able to just shut off my power supply so that I could shut off my LED lights if I want, make sure that that is actually on. It could be off and that could be your only reason that this is not working. Now, the next issue you might be encountering is the fact that you're trying to play on a table that does not have a direct B2S backglass. So keep in mind, the way this works is Visual Pinball communicates to direct B2S server, and that talks to DOF, and then your DOF tells your Teensy to do your LEDs a certain way. So if you don't have that direct B2S backglass in your game, it's not going to work. Now, thankfully, a lot of the Visual Pinball 10 tables is going to have all that integrated in. Now, if you have a rare few in VPX or some legacy VP9 tables and they're not working, the other issue might be that the vpin main controller needs to be adjusted in the script to change it back to direct B2S server. Now, if you're not sure what I'm talking about and how to do that, I'll put a link above to my loading pinball tables video, and that's all in there for you. Now, the other thing you might be encountering is the fact that you're trying to play a future pinball table, and we don't have anything set up for that yet. That requires some software down the road called DOF Links, and that'll work with DOF to get it going. So look forward to that in the future when I show you how to do a bunch of future pinball stuff. Now, beyond those suggestions, if you still don't have anything lit up, I highly suggest you go back to the beginning of the video, watch it again, make sure you haven't missed anything in those order of the steps. Make sure you haven't introduced any kind of syntax errors when you named folders and things like that. I would go through your cabinet.xml file, make sure that that COM number is correct based off the Teensy. And beyond that, I would suggest that you go to see the vPinball Bible at mgrnet.org, and he has a very good troubleshooting section in there of some other things that I don't think need to be talked about in full detail, but if you're still having problems, I'd head you over there. Now, let's talk about when you have a different problem where all of the LEDs on the entire cabinet are all on and they're all bright white. So if you get that situation, that is a number one diagnostic fix for this one. You take your Teensy, you figure out which pin 15 and 16 are, and you're going to solder a little jumper wire between those and connect them, and that will instantly fix the problem. I actually had that one as well, so I went and soldered my Teensy and put it back together, and I instantly had all my colors. So that's a pretty easy fix for that one. Now, if you've got all your lights and everything's going great, except you notice that on your back matrix that their symbols look a little funky and any kind of text looks a little garbled up or upside down or reversed, then I highly suggest you go watch my cabinet file video. I'll put a link above for that, and there's some suggestions in there. That is almost always going to be caused by your LED arrangement that you put in for your strip in your cabinet file. Now, if you still can't get it to work, there's one last thing that you can do, and that is creating a log file. So what you can do is turn on a log file so that it will start documenting all of the communication between all of the programs. And then when you start a table and close it, you can open up this log file and see if there's any errors or exceptions preventing this thing from actually happening. And then that might give you a hint to figure out what you need to do, or at a minimum, you can go online and post your log file on one of the virtual pinball community groups, and someone there will be able to figure it out for you and tell you what you did wrong. All right, to enable the logging to happen, you have to go down to your global config editor, open this up, say yes. Okay, then you're going to go up to File, Load, go to your DirectOutputconfig folder, and you're looking for your global config _ B2S server, this one here, so double click on that. Then you're going to head over to this logging tab, click on that, and you're going to check this off so that it says enable logging. It'll probably be turned off on yours. And then right here it might be empty. If it is, you're going to type what I have exactly put out here. So // output, no spaces, with a capital letter at the beginning of each of those words, .log, and then you're going to go back up here and go File, Save, and that's it. Now if we close this down, and if I go to start up a table here, just pick any table, it doesn't really matter, we'll just start it and close it up. We'll do Cactus Canyon here. And you don't have to play it or anything, you just have to start it up, and you can press Q twice on the keyboard to kick it out. Okay, there we go, we're going to kick this out. Close this up. Okay, and then in this Visual Pinball Tables folder is that DirectOutput.log. Okay, there it is right there. It's just a text document, so you can open it up. Okay, and then here's your log file. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know what everything is in here, but you can go through this, and when you see certain things and it's saying that it's an exception or an error, then you have to see what it's actually doing. So like, for example, I have a cabinet config loaded successfully from that place, so that's good. But if it said that it was exception or error and it was not loading properly, then there might be something with my cabinet file, or maybe it's not there and you put it in the wrong folder, etc. And if you can't make sense of any of this, at least when you go on to a VPin builders group on Facebook, you will be able to at least post this, and someone there that knows more about this, who's been in this a lot longer, will be able to point out something right away for you. All right, now it's important to note that today's video is just installing the basic DOF setup so that we can control our LED strips. However, we're going to be going back and forth between DOF when we start doing any kinds of installs with SainSmart boards, LED Whiz, shaker motors, gear motors, and any of those kind of mechanical toys. We're going to be going back to DOF and setting it up in there as well. So this is just the basic setup, but there'll be lots more coming. This is a wrap on another video from Way of the Wrench, this time on how to get the basic DOF installed and get your LED addressable strips blinking and strobing and flashing to your heart's content. If I was able to help you to get your cabinet to this point, I would love to hear from you. Put it down in the comment section below, and that would make my day. Next video up, really we could go two ways. We could completely take this all down and start filling and sanding and painting and vinyl and putting it together and clean up the wires and grounding straps. But that sounds like a lot of work. I don't want to do that yet. So I think I'm going to keep going. I could start putting in some shaker motors, gear motors, some SainSmart relay boards, LED Whiz board, put in some RGB addressable flipper buttons. You're just going to have to stick around and see what I do next. If you haven't already, why don't you join us on Instagram? That way you can see all the behind the scenes videos and pictures that we're doing in the shop. And until next time, take it easy.